welcome to another roundtable. With me, as always, Jeff Franklin and Mark the Infly Tired. How are we doing, guys?
Good day, Robert. Doing pretty well here. Hope you're
Doing
doing
great.
well.
If I were a duck, it's raining here.
Yeah, raining
Send
buckets.
some
Huh?
here. Send some
Well,
here.
just look at it this way, Mark. At least you don't have this looming on you. See, it's raining there today. It's what, August 8th? So we've got September, then October. We'll have snow by October 28th. So
Well, we move into major hurricane season at the end of August into September and October. So
yeah,
yeah,
we
you get
move
snow,
into
we start worrying
blizzards
about
at the end of
hurricanes.
October. We run into
Now,
blizzard.
we've had an ice storm here in eastern Texas, or I'm sorry, west central Texas in late October. So it happens.
It does. It does. We get a lot of ice. Black ice is wonderful. All right.
My
So,
brain's not working.
no, brain not working. Okay. So what we're gathered here to discuss is Mark's pick. Mark picked Apollo 17, the last man on the moon, the last men on the moon, and it was it was a very interesting documentary in the sense that you got to see a lot, but you didn't get to learn a lot. But we'll get into that. So Jeff, I'll get you to give your impressions. Mark, I'll let you. Then I'll go, and then we'll kind of just generally talk about the ups and the downs and all that fun stuff, and then we'll get out of here. So Jeff.
I thought it was a very plain documentary. Probably produced in the 70s. I looked for a copyright. I couldn't find one. But it just basically documented the travels of Apollo 17 to the moon and back and what they did on the moon.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Mark?
Well, I mean, yeah, it was I'm not going to disagree that it was a bare bones documentary, but at the same time, where you said you didn't, where you may not have learned much, it interests me because it's completely fact based. There's no hoopla to it. There's no glitz, no glamour. It showed the day to day what the astronauts were doing before and after liftoff into the moon and on the moon.
Yeah,
and coming back. That's what, and I enjoy stuff like that.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. The documentary itself was fine, and you got to see a lot of interesting things, like how they got the core samples, how they messed up the rover,
which is funny.
getting to do some auto body repair up in space just for fun, So you got little things like that, but what I would have liked, I think, would have been like a little bit more explaining things. Like, okay, so they have the live footage, which is basically what the documentary is. It's just the live footage.
Yeah.
And they basically just cut here, cut there, and it's just the live footage. So there's really no explanation for anything. It's just visual, and you get to see, okay, well, I think this is what's happening here. Whereas I would have liked it to be, a little bit more dry, I guess, but it would have made it a little bit more dry. But when when the different sections are separating, right? They could have explained what's going on, what's happening, what the astronauts are feeling at this point, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, what the conditions are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, what ended up happening by all these samples, because you see them pick up the samples. But unless you read the text that comes up on the screen, you don't get an idea of why they're doing that, why they're picking up all these rocks, why these spots that they're going to are important, why. There's no why. It's just, here's the footage. So for me, that's where this documentary drops, because it's just, well, here's the footage, and there's no more depth to it. It's just, here's the footage. But that's just me. What do you guys think?
Jeff, go
Starting
ahead.
with Mark, I guess.
Okay. I kind of disagree with you a little bit, and that's what's wrong with today with people not watching things and paying attention. And I'm not saying you didn't do it, Robert,
Yeah.
but if you read the
Yes,
text
he
of
is.
what they were describing, you knew what was going on. They even described why they were in the, just for instance, in the first part when they went to the part where they landed at, they were there to do geological studies on what current or what you say less than 1 million to 1 million years old to the older
Yeah.
geological places on the moon. They were studying that. That's why they sent the geologists there, of course.
Yeah.
But I can agree with you on certain parts. Maybe have a narrator in there to narrate certain parts just for the modern crowd to understand. I mean, like Jeff said, this was probably filmed in the 70s, and it's a totally different time between the early mid 70s to today. I mean, the attention span is way different.
Yeah.
So of course you're gonna it would benefit if they did do that.
For me, the reason I point that out is, to me, it just seemed lazy, right? Because all they did really was cut a bunch of footage, put a title on it, and there's your documentary.
Well,
that's it.
That documentary, if you think about it, there were breaks in it where it looked like there were actual physical breaks. That this could have been several episodes put together, or I wouldn't say episodic, but several documentaries where they were released as 30-minute documentaries or 45-minute documentaries, and they were put together that way, or 25-minute documentaries, because there are breaks, and there are certain breaks in certain parts where they just jump to it. So the people putting it out on YouTube, whoever the producer, I agree with you on that. With the breaks, they should have brought in a narrator for that part.
Yeah,
I'll agree.
Because otherwise, it's just, here's the footage. We did work. Mm-hmm. No, you didn't. You just, it would be like, I'm doing a review on Star Wars, the new Star Wars movie. Here's the movie. Right? Like, here's the movie, and I'm going to throw captions in here and there. And that's it. Done. I would have liked to see something where there's a narrator or there's something other than just the footage.
There was a bit of a narration to it, though. They had the astronauts talking, not during the mission, but after, I'm presuming after the mission.
Yeah.
So they
had them voice in, but for most of the documentary, it's just the footage. It's just
I agree with that.
The footage. There's no. It would be like the Battle of the Bulge, and all you get is the camera, and you get to hear the soldiers. They're fighting and arguing and shooting each other, but you have no context. You have no added. There's nothing added. It's just, here's the footage and done.
So you're saying it would have benefited more from being like a newsreel more so than
it's less of a documentary and more of just a newsreel. Here's what happened. Here's the day-to-day. Okay, cool. Like, this is more like something you'd expect to see in like a planetarium. You're walking by and there's the exhibit, and then they'll show like just the them walking on the moon and stuff. But it's part of something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the main feature. It just, to me, it just seemed like there was something missing. There's no context. It's just, here's the mission, here's the footage, we're done.
There was a little bit of context. I mean, they had Kennedy's speech. And,
they
said this was the last mission to the moon, and the funding for it had been cut to NASA. So there was a bit of context to it.
Yeah. But, I mean, even in that Kennedy speech, and the intro, and you look at it and you're like, wow, I wonder if they'd be choked if they knew what ended up happening after this mission. Wonder how badly they'd be choked that we haven't
That's
been
a good
back,
point.
right? We haven't been back. And when you're listening to the intro, you assume, that they had aspirations to this. Yeah, this is the last Apollo mission. But there will be other missions, just maybe not called Apollo.
You could definitely hear it. Gene Cernan's when he gave his part about Apollo and Beyond, he did speak out of that, and that's where it's dated. Yeah, I can get the dated part.
Right. And I mean, even
that.
right at the end when they show the plaque, when they unveil the plaque that they left on the moon, this is the last time this will be read until our future selves come here. In other words, till someone else comes and takes up the mantle and reads it again, implying that somebody was going to be there to read this thing again, to take up where they left off. And here we are in 2022, and we've built a space station, right? Like
50 years later.
Yeah,
to the year.
We've built a space station. We've sent a robot to Mars. Does that count? Right? Like we haven't. There was so much. These videos always depress me because there was so much
wasted potential.
Yeah, like not only that, but there was so much enthusiasm that we were going to do something. Right? There was more to come. And it just kind of like,
well, the reason why it crashed and burned not for Vietnam or the economic structure of the United States at the time, Americans had gotten used to the people going to the moon, just like with the space shuttle. The space shuttle was a great thing to start off with. Everybody watched launches, but eventually the wonder just was lost.
Yeah,
but I mean, the attention span had been broken because nothing new was being
done.
It
was coming. Yeah,
it took Apollo 13 and the Apollo in the Apollo missions to rebuild interest, and sadly to say, it took Challenger, in the space shuttle to renew interest.
Well, and the sad part about that is that almost killed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing stomps out $1 billion project like tragedy.
Yeah.
Like nothing puts a stopper on things. Wait a second, we could die doing this shite. Maybe not, chum. Like you mean if we screw this up, we're in trouble? Yeah. Oh well. Maybe we won't do that anymore. And of course you'll have, and then you get the argument both sides. Well, for betterment of mankind, we got to do it. Well, no, it's too risky, etc., etc. And then by the time that's done, you're 5-10 years later.
I will say that I did like the banter that you heard.
Oh yeah, they were great
on the moon.
They were great.
I mean, they were having fun up there.
Yeah,
as well as doing
great.
their work.
I would have, come to think of it, I would have appreciated if they would have touched up the sound a little bit.
Oh, you are talking about something that was filmed. What?
Well, yeah, it was filmed
38,000 miles away from Earth.
If they're bringing it out as a documentary, right?
Yeah.
If they're bringing it out as a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Touch up the sound a little bit. Show work done, right? Like I said, because it came across very much as there's the film, there's this. We haven't done anything to it. Here you go.
Well, you are talking about something that was filmed 50 years ago as well.
Yes.
So, or produced.
Yeah. But I mean, I'd really like to see what they could do with some of that old footage now. like with the modern, like we look at stuff that NASA is doing now. I could be wrong, but Mark will tell me, where they take old photos, like what they did with the moon pictures, where we're bringing them to 2022 now, right? This is what it originally looked like.
Oh, you're
This is
talking
what it
about
looks like
augmenting the
now.
pictures. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, when you start augmenting things,
You can screw it up.
yeah, it loses. To me, it loses the appeal. That's like
It,
colorizing
it
black and
does.
white movies.
Sometimes
It
you go
loses the
too
appeal.
far.
Yeah.
You go too far, right? You
Mhm.
always run that risk of going too far.
Mhm.
But if it's done right, and I know that's in 2022, saying that can be dangerous.
Yeah,
If
very.
it's done right, it can be very tasteful.
Mhm.
Now we don't want, what we don't want is for you to throw in special effects, lens flares. We don't need any of those.
No JJ
And
production.
you keep J.J. Abrams the hell away from it.
That's what I was thinking, Mark.
Or Disney or
Mhm.
Paramount, any
Mhm.
of them. You just,
Yeah.
no thank you. We don't need any help. We're good.
What you do is you take people who historical.
Yeah.
What's the word? You know what I'm looking for. People who
Yeah.
restore it historically, not people
Yeah.
who are doing it for
It's like
cash value.
when you redo like classical furniture.
Mhm.
Okay. There is a right way to refurbish that, and there is a wrong way to refurbish that. There is a way you can refurbish it so it keeps its value and maybe even increases it.
Mhm.
And then there's the way to do it where you completely gut it and ruin it completely. Cars were bad for that. You'd get somebody who decided, I'm a chopper, so I'm going to chop up the car, and then you took a car that was worth $100,000 and made it worth 50 cents. Way to go, my friend. You know, and then if you get the really die-hard car guys, if the numbers don't match, you're in trouble. Don't
True.
put new parts in the car. The numbers don't match, you're in trouble.
I wonder where this aired originally.
I never checked that to see. It looks like something that would fit on PBS, or it looks like something.
Yeah.
schools
It looks very early television is what it looks like.
or maybe even a handout at schools, like a Scholastic.
It could be
like
a
something
school
from
thing too.
Scholastic, where they did the documentaries where they handed out the 8mm rules or something like that.
Yeah,
'Cause it does have that feel.
It's got that feel to it. It's got that, plain Jane, no bells, no whistles, just plain Jane, which is fine. You can learn a lot from plain Jane. But at the same time, you go, oh, you might have missed an opportunity here. You might have missed an opportunity there. They had, I mean, if you think about it, it's 2 episodes, which is an hour apiece. Part 1, part 2.
Mm-hmm.
If they weren't going to do anything with the footage, they could have cut out a couple of spots, saved about 20 minutes at the end, and had a sit down with the two. They had access to them because they're in the video, they're in the documentary, and they say things that weren't recorded when they were flying.
That would have been really interesting to hear.
Right? A sit down. And so you have 3/4 of the documentary be what happened and the footage, and then the aftermath. So you have them sitting down and talking about their experience and what it was like and yada yada yada. And then you have the ending. I will say that it never ceases to amaze me how wonderful we are as humans. So did anybody ever, just curious, did either one of you bother to check the comment section?
No, I did not look at it.
Oh,
I did not.
Okay. Well, I was in dialysis, so I did. And you will literally have people in the comment section with full capital letters yelling and screaming, "We were never there. We didn't get close."
I
Da,
know.
da, da, da,
The
and it's
conspiracy
like,
theory nuts.
right? It's like,
I did have those thoughts going through my head. What's in the comments? Are they saying
yeah.
flat
So
Earth? We didn't go to the
curiosity killed the
moon.
cat, and I was in dialysis. So, whatever. I went and read them, and I'm just like, okay, if you truly believe that, that's fine. But why? What do you gain by putting this on this video? It just never ceases to amaze me.
The problem with that is with a really good telescope, or not really a really good telescope, a medium range telescope or good field, but not field glasses. If you know where to look, you can see the tracks on the where the rovers were
Yeah.
on the moon. You may not see the American flag. Of course, it's so small that and it's whitewashed because of the sun and the
Yeah.
elements. I mean, you're not going to see that, but there's proof there. You can see the landing sites on every one of them if you know where to look.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why people still hold to that theory that it's all that we never went there.
I write that off just as I write off the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We've talked about this several times, so I'm not going to get into it. But I write that off with the same people that go, "That's the Olympic at the bottom of the Atlantic." How can it be the Olympic? Because it is. They switched them. It's 100% the Olympic. But the numbers match. No, they switched them. There's no way they didn't have the time. And the evidence is right there in their face. They'll go down till the end of time telling you that the Olympic is the one that's at the bottom of the Atlantic. There's just sometimes there is no way to tell a person that they're wrong.
I want to just clarify something there. You really can't see the landers or the tracks.
I thought you
from
could.
the
Okay,
Earth.
I thought
No,
you could. I'm
you
sorry.
can't.
No.
They're just too small.
Too small. I thought a good telescope and you could see it. You can't see it with a good telescope.
No.
Okay,
No.
my apologies. Thank you for correcting me, Jeff.
And not only that, but you think about it this way, okay? Seeing the tracks would be almost impossible just for the amount of sediment that has been there from, I mean, you got to think that's 50 years of space dust. I mean, you go outside and you go on a gravel road and you drive your car down that gravel road.
Well, the difference
and come back in 3 weeks.
The difference in what you say about that and there is there's no atmosphere on the moon.
No,
unless a meteor hits an area, it's going to be there until.
Oh yeah, like
you
would probably be able to see it. There'd still be the outline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no weather there to erase it.
Yeah. But it's just, to me, it's just like, well, one day we'll find out. Well, I mean, they're already letting civilians go up, so eventually, maybe not my kids, but their kids might, be able to go on a hotel resort just for fun. When we finally stop worrying about money and just do things. It's the only reason why half the stuff that we want to do doesn't get done. Costs too much. We've got the technology. We've got the ability. We just cost too much.
Oh, supposedly we're going back soon.
Yes. We'll see.
Supposedly.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I don't know. I've always wondered, if you think about it, what they went up there with. Right? I mean, there are people on Earth right now that can't make it to the corner store without GPS.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not even joking. There are people that need that GPS to go around the corner.
No, I hear you. I know a few people like that.
Right? And just think about what they had to, like, just for them to sit in that rocket, they must have been on, hold the phone. I'm going to be put with a whole bunch of explosive stuff underneath me. Yep. What kind of protection do I have? Protection? What's that? the fender on the rover broke. Get some duct tape, lad. You know, like that wouldn't be a 2022. I mean, I'm sorry. A person would start freaking. What do you mean? Get the duct tape. Get the duct tape. You'll be fine, right? It was a different mentality.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if we still have that capability. Could you imagine just the safety features alone? Just that alone.
Mm-hmm.
How long that would ground that project? I mean, they went up with a, does everything work? We hope so. Right? There wasn't a, it was, we're pretty sure.
Well, you're talking about running your cell phone could run mission control and the space program all from one shot.
Yeah.
With the computer capability.
Yep. Like the amount of the amount of technology we have now compared to what they had when they did that. It's crazy to think about. It really is. And we're sitting here saying we can't do it. Well, I don't know if we could do it. I don't know if we could get. We've done it already with less technology than we have now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
But it comes down to money. And
everything comes down to money, unfortunately.
And the willingness to do it. Right? Because it's a risk. It's not a guarantee. It's not a slam dunk. You could have the perfect rocket. You could have the perfect everything. Something goes wrong. It blows up. It happens. And we got to be able to be willing to take that risk. Mm-hmm. These men and women were willing to take that risk. Whether we are or not is another story. But with that, I'll let everybody do their final pushes and we'll get out of here, starting with Mark.
Besides the documentary I enjoyed, I have nothing to push right now because I am doing nothing currently online. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
All right, Jeff.
I like the documentary. It gave you, not exactly minute by minute, but maybe day by day account of what happened during the mission, which was very interesting. Had not seen anything quite that detailed before, so I did like it for that. As far as what I'm doing on YouTube, I'm on John DeMarco's channel on Saturday nights. We have Jeopardy! If you'd like to come. It's usually mostly Star Trek based, but we do occasionally put in some other categories. So if you'd like to test your trivia knowledge, come for Jeopardy! Saturday nights at 9:00 Eastern. We're on a hiatus with A Question of Trek right now. We'll be back the first Sunday in September. That's at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. Hope you can join us on there.
Okay. So, as usual, we have a couple of new shows coming to History with R&R. The first one did drop last Friday. It was Vikings with Loki. That will be once a month. Also, we have another new show with Arlena that will be dropping next week. So look out for that. It'll be another once a month. And then we have the live streams will be moving, as I said in the update, to twice a month instead of every week. I do encourage you, if you'd like to come on and just talk about anything within history, there's no real, I don't care. All I ask is that it be factual and that it will be history based. That's all I ask. So if you have a topic that you would like to discuss or something of that nature, please get in touch with Jeff. Jeff handles the scheduling on that. So if you do, just let him know and we'll get rolling. Normally, we do the live streams at 1:00 on a Monday.
Central.
So it'll be 1:00 Central on a Monday. But if your schedule is pretty tight, we can do a record and we can drop it as a premiere. We can accommodate as long as Jeff's work schedule allows, and we can make it work.
We'll figure
So
something out.
yeah, Jeff and you will figure it out. Jeff is the guy to talk to on that. And with that, I will say thank you and good night.